Today's topic is building confidence by overcoming insecurities. So, what are insecurities? Insecurities are doubts and uncertainties we have about ourselves. It is a feeling that our skills and our abilities, our thoughts or behaviors don't measure up or are not valid or worthwhile. Insecurities breed negativity in our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors. They stem from our perspectives, how we perceive and interpret events and situations, and the belief that we hold, which are triggered by our past experiences, our low self esteem, our low self confidence, social anxiety, and striving for perfection. What are three types of insecurities? Well, first one is personal insecurity. This is where we lack confidence in ourselves. It is often based on how we think, about how we look, sound, act compared to others. We are overly concerned or worried about what others think of us, how they perceive us, if we're doing something right, or if we're fitting in. And this can cause a lot of anxiety. Personal security hits us deep to our core. It is hard to shake or get rid of the thoughts on how we compare to others. This can prevent us from pursuing relationships, career opportunities, or social connection. The second type of insecurity is professional insecurity. This happens in work situations when we feel we are not good enough, that our skills don't measure up to our colleagues or what is expected of us. It often happens when we are anxious, nervous, or self-conscious about giving a presentation, speaking up, or going for a promotion. Professional insecurity can also be related to the imposter syndrome, which is when we generally have achieved some level of success in an area, yet we struggle to attribute that success to our own ability. We can feel like a fraud or a phony. The third type of insecurity is relationship insecurity. This often happens when we don't feel like we deserve love, we don't deserve our partner, or that our partner really doesn't love us, or that someone else would make them happier. This leads to jealousy, arguments, and dominating and controlling behaviors. Some signs of insecurity are bragging, controlling, which you might not think necessarily of insecurity, but it is putting up a front. It is putting on the outside like you are it, you are in control, like you've done all these things, but really on the inside, you're so insecure. You are doubting yourself, but you're just masking it. You're like putting on this different persona, a different suit, armor per se, of just outwardly showing that you are confident, you know, but in a controlling and kind of bragging, conceited type of way. Other signs of insecurity are people pleasing or reassurance seeking, that you're really trying to get those compliments from others to build those insecurities up on the inside. So you're looking for outward reassurance, you're looking for outward validation that you're okay. Another common sign of insecurity is perfectionism, when you are just striving so much for the perfect thing to get it all right and just not believing that you can. But perfectionism is an elusive thing. It is something that you can never totally get your hands on, because it's like the horizon. Like you go for the horizon, but it's always moving. It's always ahead of you. Another common sign of insecurity is negative self-talk, just whether it is on the inside, what you tell yourself, or how you present yourself to others, that you're putting yourself down, you're downplaying your abilities, and what you can do. Another common sign is excessive worry about what other people think of you. And we've talked about those in the types of insecurities, personal, professional, and in relationships. Consequences of insecurity: low self-esteem, low self-confidence, low self-worth, but you're more prone to mental health issues such as increased anxiety, increased depression, potentially eating disorders, because often personal insecurity is about how we look. So getting the body right. It also harms our physical health because of all the stress and the tension that we put on ourselves, beating ourselves up with negative self-talk, stressing ourselves out over anxiety of speaking to others, speaking up, about comparing ourselves to others and the things that we do to get ourselves to look right, sound right. It can also lead to us abandoning our dreams because we're not really living outside our comfort zone. We are just trapped inside our comfort zone, just not wanting to take risks. And our dreams and goals require us to take risks, to get outside of our comfort zone, to do something different, to strive for something better. And so if we're not willing to do that, we end up just abandoning our dreams. And it can be really troublesome in our relationships. It can cause feelings of distrust, like we talked about in the relationship insecurity. Jealousy can cause anger, can cause arguments, resentment, a lot of tension, and stress. So we don't want this, right? So how do we overcome this? How do we overcome our insecurities and build up our confidence within ourselves? Well, there are many, many ways to address our insecurities and build confidence, but here are 3 good starters. The first is being aware and honest with ourselves. It's the awareness of our thoughts, our feelings, and how we're responding in situations. It is also identifying and recognizing our insecurities and where they're coming from, and really being honest with yourself, because all progress starts by telling the truth. What are you feeling? Getting really honest and aware, like, how are you feeling? What are you feeling? What thoughts are you having? Where are these thoughts and feelings coming from? What is the root cause of them? And then how are you responding and reacting? What are you doing? How are you behaving because you're feeling this way or because of the thoughts that you're having? How are you acting? Just being really honest and aware of yourself, your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors. The second one is then challenging those thoughts, those feelings, those beliefs that you have. It's challenging your limiting thoughts and beliefs. Tony Robbins said, the only thing that's keeping you from getting what you want is the story you keep telling yourself. So what's your story? What are those thoughts, those feelings? What is that you're telling yourself? Once you're aware of your negative or your limiting thoughts, your feelings and beliefs, and that it's really holding you back, it's time to challenge them. Change your story. Your story is always a revision because it's a reflection of your thoughts and your beliefs. As you experience more things, you have different thoughts, you have sometimes different beliefs, you come in, so you can change the story of your past. It's always a revision because it is a perspective. It's what the meaning you give to an experience. And you can change that. You can tell yourself a different story. You can look at that past event and reimagine and give new details to it, that you are smart. You did the best you could at the time with the information that you had. You are smart, you're worthy, you're confident, you're capable, you're deserving. You can put those into your story and you can extract examples of how you're smart, why you're worthy, when you were confident and capable, and when you deserve these things. So you can change your story to a more positive one. You can also replace the negative with more positive or empowering statements. So this is like writing down the opposite. So if in your head you have thoughts that I'm smart, not smart, I'm dumb, that I'm stupid, like what's the opposite of that? I'm smart, I'm intelligent. Then start using those statements, those positive, empowering statements. I am confident. I'm confident in this area. I'm capable because I have done these things. But if you have a hard time like telling yourself, an positive statement and an empowering statement, another way to do that is think about what would you say to a friend who had that same negative thought. So if you had a friend come to you and they're just down on themselves and they're like, oh, I'm so stupid, I did this, like, I'm not smart at all. Like, what would you say to that person? Oftentimes we would say, oh, no, like, you remember the time when you did this? Like, oh my gosh, you were so smart. Like, that was brilliant what you came up with in that situation, And so we often come back with giving them the opposite or an example of when they were actually being smart, intelligent, brilliant, and we can build them up and change their perspective in that. It's challenging their limiting belief in the moment. Another way to challenge your limiting thoughts and beliefs is changing your perspective. And we just talked about what would you say to a friend, but what would a friend say about this to you? Like if you came to a friend and said, oh, I'm just struggling, I just did something really stupid. Like, what would your friend say to you? What would your friend say about the situation? Change your perspective, right? Come at it from another person's point of view. Another way to look at changing your perspective is changing the altitude from which you're seeing the situation. So what would it look like in a hot air balloon 10,000 feet above you? And you're in this hot air balloon and you're looking down on this situation. What would you say about the situation? Oftentimes we make a mountain out of a molehill. So if we're looking at it at 10,000 feet, this situation looks really small compared to what you can entirely see when you're that high in the air. So you're changing your perspective. But another way to change your perspective is lying on the floor and looking up. What would you say about that situation if you're laying on the floor? I often think about times when my kids were younger, when they were infants and they're starting to move and they're starting to crawl. And what does the world look like from their perspective? What does the world look like when you're on the floor and looking up? How does that change your perspective? So a third way to overcome insecurities and build your confidence is by embracing a growth mindset. According to Carol Dweck in her awesome book, Mindset, growth mindset can be developed. It's an intelligence that can be developed. We can grow our mind by changing our perspective. We can see things as learning experiences. Everything is an opportunity, a situation is something to learn and grow from. This leads to more desire to learn more things. And if you see things as a learning opportunity, you tend to embrace challenges more. You tend to take risks. You tend to try to step out of your comfort zone a little bit and just see what would happen if you took on a challenge and just looked at it from a learning perspective, not to be perfect, but to learn and grow. And in that growth mindset, you can be more resilient. You persist in the face of setbacks. So if it is challenging and it kind of sets you back a little bit, it's a time for reflection on, okay, what did I learn? Like, what can I do better the next time? Sports is a great example of how we can continue to learn and grow, because there's so many little instances in sports where certain situations we could do something better, to make the outcome different. And so we learn from those, and that's how we practice. We practice things over and over again to get better at them. Embracing a growth mindset is that you see that effort that you're putting in, your practice, you're practicing life, right? You're practicing, and that effort that you're doing is going to lead you to be better at it, to master it in some way. And we can also learn from those setbacks, right? We learn from the mistakes that we made. We learn from, people giving us criticism, right? It's learning from a different perspective. What does it look like from their perspective? Okay, constructive criticism is great, right? How can you improve something? Growth mindset also is inspiring, because we can look at and find lessons in the success of others. There are so many books and examples of successful people that have overcome situations, overcome life obstacles, come from rags to riches, and we can learn from them. We can find lessons. How did they do this? And we can be inspired by it, and that helps us grow, right? We're learning something, we're growing, we can see things in a different perspective, we can change our thought pattern, we can change how we feel about something by embracing this growth mindset. And as a result, you can reach higher levels of achievement. You can reach those goals and those dreams that you have once set, and you can make bigger ones. You can make more impossible goals. And follow me for my Smarter to Goal framework, where we make the impossible possible. We see things as, once an impossible goal, but then we break it down and we look at how possible we can achieve this. It's very possible to achieve these things. And when we do, it gives people a greater sense of free will. You can have greater sense of freedom in what you're doing and the life that you're living. So now it's your turn. What are some thoughts or feelings that make you insecure? What makes that insecurity come out of you? Personally, professionally, in relationships? What are some of those thoughts and feelings that make you feel insecure? Well, how about behaviors? What do you do? How do you act? How do you respond? What behaviors indicate insecurity to you, personally, professionally, and in relationships? Take a moment and think about how you are insecure in what thoughts you have, that your feelings and your behaviors, and in what situations, personally, professionally, or in other relationships. So take one of those examples that you've just thought about and write out a plan on how to overcome that insecurity by becoming more aware of those thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, when they happen, how they happen, in what situations, and being really honest with yourself. Remember, all progress starts by telling the truth. Challenge these thoughts, challenge these feelings and behaviors. State the opposite, change it from a negative into a positive. Find examples in your life when you were confident, brave, certain that you were doing these things that you're now insecure about. Change your perspective. What would that look like from 10,000 feet or on the floor? What would a friend say to you about this? What would you say to a friend who has a similar idea, thought, behavior? And practice a growth mindset. Every experience is an opportunity to learn and grow. So remember, your thoughts and feelings are your choice. You have the power to think and feel how you want. Choose carefully.